Hi scholars, hello again. So today we are going to learn about similes. Okay, so for some of you it may be a refresher, and for some of you it may be the first time you are hearing of a simile. So what is a simile? Kind of looks like the word smile, huh? Simile is comparing one thing with another of a different kind. Okay, so the most important thing to note about a simile is when you are comparing one thing with another, you are using the words like or as. This is very, very important. So if you are comparing one thing to another without using like or as, they are not similes. I'll make this more clear in the next few minutes. So why is it important to learn about and use similes? Well, it makes your writing more vivid. We want to make our writing as vivid as we can. What that means is we want to make our reader imagine what we are writing. We really want to draw them in, pull them in, and make our stories as interesting as we can with our words. And a way to use to make our stories more vivid and interesting is by using similes. So I am going to write an example of a simile for you. Okay, so we are going to prepare for our challenges paragraph in your autobiography. In our challenges paragraph, I want you to write about a challenge that you had in your life. Okay, so think of a challenge that you've had in your life. Think about it for a few seconds. If you need to, you can pause this video and think about it, then come back when you have. After you have thought about your challenge that you've had in your life, we're going to write about it. So, simple sentence. Miss Naya's thinking of a challenge she's had in her life. When I was in high school, I was on the swim team and I couldn't dive. So, I'm going to write about that challenge. Remember, we're starting with a complete sentence. We have to start with a capital letter. A challenge that I had in my life was being scared to speak in public. It's a P, in public. So that was a challenge that I had growing up. I didn't really speak in class. I was super scared. My face would turn red. My stomach would get into knots. I would feel sick to my stomach. So many things would happen to me when I had to speak in public. Okay, so how do I relay all of those feelings, and how do I make the reader really understand how big of a challenge that was? I know that I put a challenge that I had in my life was being scared to speak in public. Well, yeah, okay, everyone probably has a challenge like that, but I want the reader to really, really know how I felt and understand how big of a challenge that was. So let's write this into a simile. How did I feel when I needed to speak in public? How did you feel about your challenge in your life? Well, I know that I have to compare something to something else. So here I am going to compare being scared to speak in public with something else. Okay, so this is how I'm going to write my simile. I was scared to speak in public, so I'm going to start off with that. Okay, now that I wrote the first thing I'm going to compare, I am going to change my markers just so that you can see what I'm going to compare it with. So I'm going to use pink. So whenever I had to speak in public, well, how did I feel? Remember, you have to use the words like or as. How did I feel? Well, whenever I had to speak in public, I turned as red as a tomato. Why? Because all of the blood rushed to my face and I would just get super, super embarrassed and I would blush, and then all the kids would say, look at Miss Anaya. I mean, they didn't call me Miss Anaya in school, but they'd say, look, her face is turning red, just because I would get so, so shy and nervous. So this is my simile. I'm comparing speaking in public to a tomato, a red tomato. All right, so let's do our little checklist just to make sure that Miss Anaya hit everything she needed to do. I'm going to review now. Simile is comparing one thing with another of a different kind. So comparing one thing. I'm going to put a number 1 right there. Did I compare one thing? Well, whenever I had to speak in public, that is one thing. Okay, got that. To another. What was my other thing I was comparing? Turning as red as a tomato. So I was comparing public speaking to a tomato, a red tomato. Did I use like or as? Did I use like or as? Do I have, whenever I had to speak in public, I turned as red as a tomato? Yep, right there, there's the word as. And that's my simile sentence. So scholars, make sure for your challenges paragraph in your autobiography, when you write about a challenge, that you compare to how you are feeling, just so the reader can really understand that. Okay, guys? There are so many things that you can compare your feelings to. Anything. If you just look around the room, look around your house, the world, you can find pretty much anything to compare your feelings to, as long as you're creative and it makes sense. All right, guys, good luck.